Translator, Ninetales. Eternal peace. Imperial Preceptor's body quivered faintly, like an ancient pine swaying in the cold wind atop a lonely peak. The matters you seek to accomplish are vast as the heavens, and the road before you bristles with thistles and barbed thorns. My lifespan wanes like a dying ember. I can no longer lend you strength. From here on, you must walk by your own power. The young patriarch revealed a faint smile, calm as still water beneath the moon. Return. Eternal Peace clasped his hands and bowed deeply until his forehead nearly touched the earth. I thank Tao Friend for half a lifetime of unwavering support. The young patriarch returned the courtesy, his voice gentle yet resolute. Since we tread the same path, it is only natural that we uphold one another. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor turned and departed, his robes fluttering like drifting clouds in the wind, gradually swallowed by the boundless tide of humanity within the capital. The young patriarch rose to his feet and summoned the Elder of Discipline. Let us go. The hour has come for the young cult master to ascend the throne. At the borders of the Great Wall, Chancellor Ba Shan's expression darkened like storm clouds gathering over a battlefield as he led Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu into the frontier stockade, discontent stirring within his heart. When the barbarian general on duty beheld them approaching, his face shifted and he strode forward. Marshal Khan, the sacred ground has decreed that if we see you, we are not to permit you beyond the borders. Chancellor Ba Shan's gaze was icy as frozen steel. He asked coldly, Do you wish to die? A chill crept down the barbarian general's spine. He cast his eyes about in unease. Chancellor Ba Shan's gaze swept across the surrounding generals like a blade cutting through frost. Do you all wish to die? The barbarian gritted his teeth and forced out a shout, Open the gates! The massive gates groaned open. Chancellor Ba Shan mounted the bull and rode beyond the borders. Qin Mu turned back and could not help but cry out in astonishment. Upon the city gate tower stood a barbarian youth practicing his punches. Each strike was so vigorous that it stirred the air into visible currents of wind. When that youth sensed someone watching, he immediately stilled his stance and looked down. This youth is formidable, and his foundation is exceedingly firm, Qin Mu exclaimed in admiration. The youth's gaze turned toward them, brilliance flashing from his eyes as he shouted, Marshal Khan! My name is Pangong So, son of the Prairie King. In the future, I shall surely defeat Marshal Khan and become the overlord of the prairie. Chancellor Ba Shan turned back and appraised the barbarian youth with measured eyes, offering praise. Fine spirit. Continue your training. You are a seedling with a sturdy foundation. Perform your series of punches once more for me. Pangong So executed another sequence of punches. Chancellor Ba Shan said to Qin Mu, This child's control over his fist techniques is exceptional. His power is far fiercer than that of others. The aptitude of his physique is extraordinary. He will surely grow into a formidable figure. Qin Mu nodded. The same techniques, the same cultivation, yet some fists struck with greater force than others. Such was innate talent, a gift others could only covet but never obtain. I am impressed. So long as he does not perish, he will undoubtedly become a renowned figure upon the prairie. As they journeyed toward Qingmen Pass, Pangong So's spirits soared from Chancellor Ba Shan's praise, and he trained with even greater fervor. Before long, a streak of golden light tore across the heavens, and a shaman king descended. His face was grim as iron as he summoned the general on duty. You have allowed the Marshal Khan to depart? The general steadied himself and replied, Marshal Khan's power is immeasurable. How would I dare obstruct him? If we resisted by force, catastrophic casualties would ensue at our border station, and it would be difficult to defend against Eternal Peace's army. The Shaman King snorted coldly, about to erupt in fury, when his gaze suddenly fell upon Pangong So, practicing atop the city gate tower. Surprise and delight flashed across his features. He pointed toward Pangong So. Whose child is that? The young son of our barbarian D Empire's Supreme Khan, Prince Pangong So. A smile spread across the Shaman King's face. Reaching out from afar, he seized. Pangong So's body flew uncontrollably through the air and landed before him. Superb aptitude. This is precisely the extraordinary constitution Grand Shaman seeks. The Shaman King examined him with satisfaction. The sacred child of reincarnation whom Grand Shaman commanded us to find has finally fallen into my hands. Pangong So, come with me. The general on duty was alarmed and sought to intervene, but the Shaman King had already transformed into a beam of golden light, carrying Pangong So away. When he returned to Roland's golden palace, he delivered the young prince to Grand Shaman. Grand Shaman, too, was astonished and overjoyed. He immediately brought Pangong So into the sacred hall and bowed deeply. Grandmaster, the sacred child of reincarnation has been found. His constitution mirrors your own. He is a rare talent seen only once every few centuries upon the prairie. Grandmaster may now reincarnate. A mournful laugh echoed from within the shrine. Suddenly, a gaunt, skeletal monster shot forth. Head downward and legs upward, it adhered to Pangong So, pressing head to head. A heaven-shaking boom resounded within Pangong So's mind, and his soul was utterly annihilated. Essences surged unceasingly from the monster's body into Pangong So's form. Simultaneously, the Grandmaster's soul shifted, embedding itself within Pangong So's body. Disciple, when I reincarnate, the one destined to die may not die, and the one meant to live may not live. This overturns fate and defies the natural order. The messenger of death will come to seize my soul. Arrange the formation well to block the messenger of death. Grand Shaman hurried forward, withdrawing shrines and positioning them around Pangong So. Upon these shrines were the skeletons of the Grandmaster's past 17 lifetimes, left behind and refined into magical artifacts. Abruptly, space trembled. A frigid wind blew in from another time and realm. The flames within the sacred hall dimmed at once as a small boat slowly drifted forth from that alien domain. It was a world steeped in darkness. The only illumination seemed to come from the green lamp hanging at the bow of the boat. Its glow was faint. Beneath it sat an elder folding paper boats and paper humans. The boat drifted gradually toward the sacred hall. Grand Shaman's heart tightened with anxiety. He poured all his magic power into the shrines. Within them, the 17 golden skeletons seemed to awaken, rising to stand in a row between the entrance of the other world and their own. The elder upon the boat was surrounded by boundless darkness. From his perspective, aside from the lamp burning within his realm, the only other light was the gateway to the other world, now blocked by 17 skeletons. He lifted his hand. The paper humans and paper horses stirred as though alive. The paper humans mounted the paper horses, which galloped toward the entrance barred by the golden skeletons. The paper riders brandished paper knives and paper swords. Their mouths opened as if roaring, yet no sound emerged. The 17 skeletons moved as one, engaging in battle with the paper humans and paper horses that surged forth. The 17 golden skeletons formed a grand formation of immense power, unleashing might rivaling the gods. Yet the force from the other world was terrifying beyond measure. When the paper knives and paper swords descended, even the Grandmaster's golden skeletons could not withstand them. A knife easily severed bone. A sword pierced through skull as though through rotten wood. Grand Shaman controlled the skeletons, struggling desperately to hold back the assault. Meanwhile, the Grandmaster hastened his reincarnation. Yet he saw the small boat drawing nearer. The elder had already lifted the lantern and risen to his feet. Sweat beaded upon Grand Shaman's brow as the boat reached the threshold, poised to cross from the other world into theirs. The elder holding the lamp extended his hand, as if reaching across realms to drag the reincarnating Grandmaster back into that world. Suddenly, the Grandmaster's body stiffened. He fell from midair, lifeless, while Pangong So opened his sparkling black eyes. At the instant his eyes opened, the link between the two worlds shattered. The paper humans and paper horses ignited, turning to ash in a breath. The outstretched hand slowly withdrew into the darkness and vanished. Within the sacred hall, the flames flared bright once more. The earlier gloom vanished without a trace. Pangong So exhaled softly and smiled. I have finally succeeded. Congratulations, Grandmaster. Grand Shaman bowed deeply. Pangong So waved his hand, dismissing him. After the hall doors closed, Grand Shaman let out a long sigh. Had Grandmaster not grown old and frail, how could he have allowed Heaven Knife to slaughter his way upward? Now that Grandmaster has reincarnated, he may live another lifetime. We need no longer fear Eternal Peace Empire, nor Heaven Knife. At Qingmen Pass, Qinmu tossed 2 jade bottles to Chancellor Ba Shan before departing to purchase spirit herbs for pill refinement. Young master, Patriarch seeks you. After Chinmu finished selecting his herbs, the shop assistant at the medical store said, Young master, please leave the pass at once and head toward Harmony Prefecture. Chinmu was slightly startled but nodded. Returning to the inn, he refined a cauldron of spirit pills to heal Chancellor Ba Shan's injuries. Calling Hu Linger over, he left the border without a word, heading toward Harmony Prefecture. Ling Yuxiu was bathing at that moment. By the time she finished, Chinmu had vanished without a trace. Surprised, she hurried to question Chancellor Ba Shan. He too was unaware of Chinmu's departure. After some thought, he said, Princess, there is no need for concern. The fox is absent as well. This means junior brother was not abducted and has left with the fox. Ling Yushu felt a trace of disappointment. Chinmu had departed silently, without telling her a single word. Was there truly a need to be so mysterious? What could he not say? Chancellor Ba Shan consumed the spirit pills and rose. Princess, let us return to Imperial College. Judging by the time we have been away, Grand Chancellor should soon resign. The new Grand Chancellor will likely assume office shortly. We should return early. Grand Chancellor has always cared for me. I must at least see him off. Ling Yushu understood. Meanwhile, Chinmu pressed forward with Hu Linger, drawing ever closer to Harmony Prefecture. Along the road, chaos and war were rampant. Sects proclaimed that the emperor had strayed from the proper path and mistakenly permitted the treacherous imperial preceptor to plunge the world into turmoil. Thus, in the name of righteousness, they revolted to purge corruption. When he arrived at Luo City near Harmony Prefecture, battle raged everywhere. The common folk could no longer sustain their livelihoods. Armies suppressed rebellions across the land, yet it was like attempting to quell boiling water. Of little effect. Eternal peace. Imperial preceptor had allowed the flames to burn far too fiercely. Many officials within the Empire's council were experts drawn from numerous sects. Now that these sects had rebelled, the officials followed suit. The very foundation of the Empire trembled. Suppressing the uprising had become exceedingly difficult. What method does Imperial Preceptor possess to pacify the world's chaos? Chinmu was bewildered. If this continues, I fear every sect beneath heaven will revolt. Even if Eternal Peace Empire ultimately quells the rebellion, it will suffer grievous losses. Such an outcome was something Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor would never willingly accept. If the Empire's power were gravely diminished, how could he subdue neighboring nations? How could he occupy the great ruins and carve an achievement worthy of a lifetime? At the outskirts of Luo City, Chinmu was but a passerby, yet he encountered more than 10 bands of bandits assaulting him. Some were unsettled divine arts practitioners. Others were Luo City officials turned bandit, occupying hills as self-proclaimed lords. Relying on his swift movement, and when unable to prevail, executing Cripple's heavenly pilfering leg skill, he remained largely unscathed. If Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor can quell this rebellion and subdue or eliminate all opposing forces within the Empire, then Eternal Peace Empire will stand wholly unified, and that will be truly terrifying. Translator, Ninetales. Editor, Fish Creek. As Chinmu journeyed onward, the sights before his eyes stirred his heart with unrestrained admiration. Within Luo City alone, divine arts practitioners already numbered beyond count. From this single corner, one could well imagine the immensity of such practitioners throughout the entire empire, like stars scattered across the firmament. At present, Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was unable to marshal these forces. Yet once the rebel armies were crushed or subdued, not only would Eternal Peace Empire's overall strength remain undiminished, it would surge mightily instead, like a river breaking through its dam. At last, he arrived at Harmony Prefecture. Unlike Luo City's tension, Harmony Prefecture exuded tranquil prosperity. The common folk lived in peace, their faces bearing contentment as they toiled joyfully. Passing by the farmlands, Chinmu beheld several martial arts practitioners invoking spells. They summoned the wind and shaped it into wind blades, harvesting grain for the farmers as if wielding invisible sickles. Chinmu halted to observe more closely. He discerned that these practitioners cultivated arts from the heavenly devil cult. They manipulated the wind to assist several households in completing their harvest, and only afterward did they approach the families to settle their payment. One of the young girls said gently, Do not lay out your rice to dry today. Rain will fall toward evening. The families expressed their gratitude again and again. These practitioners noticed Chin-Mu standing by the field's edge and felt a measure of curiosity. The girl stepped forward, stopping a short distance from him, and cupped her hands in greeting. Senior brother, may I ask what brings you here? Chin-Mu smiled warmly. Are you disciples of Wind Hall? The girl started in astonishment and did not immediately dare to respond. Chin-Mu's smile deepened. Earlier I saw you execute Spring Wind traveling close to the ground. Thus I asked, was it Wind Hall Master who instructed you in this move? After a brief hesitation, the girl replied, it was Wind Hall Master Lei Zhengyin. Chin-Mu's eyes glimmered with curiosity. Did Wind Hall Master not impart the full depth of this technique to you? Several other practitioners stepped forward. A youth shook his head. Wind Hall Master only teaches us a few moves from time to time. He typically demonstrates once and leaves it at that. We have not mastered them fully. Chin-Mu circulated his vital qi, transforming it into green dragon vital qi as a faint smile curved his lips. I happen to have some time. Allow me to show you. Watch closely. Standing beside the fields, he unleashed his green dragon vital qi and performed spring wind traveling close to the ground. Instantly, wind blades like curved scimitars slithered across the earth like coiling serpents. 100 wind blades skimmed the ground, surging toward an enemy's legs with lethal intent. This technique is not merely about keeping blades close to the ground. It may also be used thus. Chin-Mu suddenly tapped the ground and leapt upward. The tips of his feet alighted upon a swiftly whirling wind blade, and borne upon its force, he shot forward. Balanced upon the wind blade, he continued to cast spells even as he advanced. Hundreds of wind blades whooshed ahead, sweeping across a radius of 20 yards as they sliced forward in unison. Though spring wind traveling close to the ground was an ordinary spell, its might was by no means negligible. On the contrary, through such variation, the profundity of the great educational heavenly devil scriptures was revealed in the manifold applications of a single move. Chin-Mu descended lightly to the ground and dispersed the spell. The youths stared, astonished and delighted. Wind Hall Master never taught us that one could ride upon the windblade like this. They immediately sought his guidance. Chin-Mu seated himself by the field and answered each of their questions in turn. He expounded upon the subtle intricacies of its qi circulation and the fine control of magical power. There are further variations, he added. The wind blade need not cling solely to the ground. Once more he executed spring wind, traveling close to the ground. With a subtle tremor of his fingers, the wind blades rose upright and slashed upward. The path of spells is interwoven with sword techniques and battle methods. Though this is a spell, it may transform into sword arts or martial techniques as well. Suddenly he produced a knife pellet and gave it a gentle shake. Curved knives flew forth from the pellet and likewise executed spring wind traveling close to the ground. Though their variations were fewer than the spell itself, their destructive force multiplied several-fold. Chin-Mu grasped 2 curved knives in his hands. Knife light flared brilliantly. His arms rose and fell, and the blade radiance skimmed the earth in a sweeping surge. The move he displayed was none other than spring wind, traveling close to the ground. Yet its power far surpassed even the knife pellet by several times. He withdrew his blades, and the curved knives returned one after another into the knife pellet. When he turned back, the youth stood dumbstruck. Chin-Mu smiled gently. Have you grasped it? One girl murmured in disbelief. How can a spell become a knife technique, or a battle method? Even Hall Master Lei cannot execute it thus. Chin-Mu guided them patiently. Who decreed that a spell must remain only a spell? Why may it not become a knife technique? To employ it as a battle method is but following the natural flow. When cultivating spells, there is no need to cling to antiquated conventions or confine yourselves to another's experience. The youth sank into contemplation. Chin-Mu repeated the essence of the technique several more times. Once they had comprehended it thoroughly, he asked, Do you not attend school? You are still young. Why are you not seeking learning in a primary school? A youth answered bitterly, We are poor. Where would we find the money for schooling? We can only earn a little during the busy farming season. The sacred cult taught us spells, sword arts, and battle techniques so that we might make a living and avoid starvation. I see. Chinmu seemed lost in thought when a familiar voice drifted over. You teach well, and they learn well. Chinmu turned immediately and beheld the speaker. He quickly bowed. Patriarch, elder of discipline, when did you arrive? Unbeknownst to him, the young patriarch had appeared at a distance, elder of discipline following behind. The elder smiled. We have been here for some time. Passing by, we saw you instructing them and listened quietly without interruption. The young patriarch praised him. Now I feel that passing the great educational heavenly devil scriptures to you was an incomparably wise decision. Others who cultivate it can at best comprehend its essence and perhaps derive one or two applications from a spell. Yet you conceive of so many diverse usages. Excellent. Truly excellent. Chinmu blinked in confusion. Are spells not meant to be used in this way? The young patriarch smiled faintly. They are. It is merely that previous cult masters were too dull to conceive of such applications. Let us depart. Chinmu assented and brought Hu Linger along as they followed toward Harmony Prefecture City. Aya, I forgot to ask who he was, one girl suddenly cried out. The youths watched as Chinmu and the others receded into the distance. A young man muttered. He addressed one as young patriarch and the old man as elder of discipline. Who could he possibly be? His insight surpasses even Hallmaster Lei. He must be an important figure within our sacred cult. Along the way, Chinmu observed more disciples of the Heavenly Devil cult using spells to excavate canals, to plow the soil, to ascend trees and pluck fruit. Yet these disciples were not proficient. Most had not mastered their spells completely. This time, Chinmu did not pause to teach them. Heavenly Devil cult disciples were scattered throughout the world. It would be utterly impossible for him alone to instruct them all. It would require years beyond reckoning. There are more disciples of our sacred cult here in Harmony Prefecture, the young patriarch remarked with a smile. What are your thoughts upon witnessing this? Patriarch aided Eternal Peace, Imperial Preceptor in founding the Imperial College, colleges, and primary schools. Yet our sacred cult's disciples lack a place to learn. You held the world in your heart, Patriarch, yet you overlooked our own sacred cult. Chinmu shook his head. Primary schools, colleges, and even an imperial college should be established within our cult. Only then will our disciples not fall behind the tide of the times. The young patriarch smiled. Such matters fall to the sacred cult master, not the patriarch. Young cult master, from this day onward, this shall be your responsibility. Chinmu stared blankly. Why did Cult Master Li not accomplish this 40 years ago? Cult Master Li lost himself in feminine charms, entranced by the cult mistress. How could he still see the people of the world? Chinmu was rendered speechless. Once again, Granny C was implicated. In those days, Li Tianxing had been hopelessly enamored of Granny C and had missed the sweeping reforms that drew worldwide attention. By comparison, it was no easy thing for Dao Sect and Great Thunderclap Monastery to conform to his reforms. Though they were sacred grounds of the righteous and Buddhist paths, their method remained that each master accepted only a handful of disciples and taught solely those few. Heavenly Devil Cult, however, was different. It operated under the Hall Master responsibility system. Though Hall Masters were formidable practitioners, they were not charged with recruiting disciples and only occasionally imparted techniques and divine arts. The cult could entirely establish primary schools and colleges within its own structure. As for an imperial college, we may simply send them to the existing one. Chinmu calculated swiftly. Select outstanding disciples from our ranks and have them sit for the Imperial College examination. Let the Imperial College nurture them on our behalf. Thus the Heavenly Saint cult will flourish, whether we intend it or not. The young patriarch looked at him and sighed softly. Why could you not have been born 40 years earlier? He led Chinmu into the city. The citizens moved busily through the streets, weaving past one another like threads upon a loom. Chinmu could not help but marvel. Could it be that the headquarters of our Heavenly Saint cult is situated within the city? Is that not too conspicuous? The young patriarch guided him to the city lord's manor. Upon arrival, they entered without announcement. Within, numerous high-ranking members of the Heavenly Devil cult had already gathered. Hallmasters, cult protector elders, supervisors, guardians, and cult heavenly kings. When they beheld the young patriarch and Chinmu, all rose to greet them. Chinmu returned their salutations. The young patriarch inclined his head slightly and asked, "Is everyone present?" A cult protector elder replied, "Cult mistress and saintess have not yet arrived. Heavenly King Qian is absent as well." The young patriarch nodded. "Then we shall wait a little longer." Before long, a sweet, alluring voice drifted in from outside. "Are Mu'er and Patriarch here?" At the sound of that voice, Chinmu felt his blood surge to his head. The hall masters and elders flushed red, anticipation bright in their eyes as though beholding the embodiment of their fondest dream. Even the young patriarch's heart stirred, his expression shifting. He shouted sharply, "Siyuyo, conduct yourself with solemnity." Granny C's voice floated back from outside. "How dull!" The young patriarch darted out the door. His voice echoed from without. "Who permitted you to reveal your true appearance? You would throw the entire ceremony into chaos. Naturally, you must enter in your ugly guise. The child you raised is about to become cult master. Would you have him bewitched by you? That will suffice. Come in." Within the manor, Chinmu and the others exhaled in relief. Cold sweat beaded upon the brows of several white-haired elders and heavenly kings as they regained composure. Moments later, the young patriarch and Granny C entered. The old woman appeared somewhat displeased and glanced about. When her gaze fell upon Chinmu, a smile bloomed. "Granny!" Chinmu hurried forward and grasped Granny C's hand, snickering softly. "Granny, I knew you were at Imperial College, and you did not even change your name." Granny Sai looked bewildered. "I have not gone to Imperial College. I merely observed you from afar. With Patriarch there, I had no concern for your safety." Chinmu smiled knowingly. "Granny still intends to feign ignorance? I have already seen through you. You are Imperial College's Sai. Saintess has arrived!" A resonant voice suddenly proclaimed. Chinmu was about to utter Si Yuxiang's name when he saw Si Yunxiang stepping through the doorway. Granny C's voice whispered beside his ear, "The Saintess is even your classmate, Cult Master." The two of you entered Imperial College at the same time.